Hello there, friends and patrons. It is me. The idea behind this Patreon Q&A, Ask a Mortician, is that it will be very relaxed and the opposite of my usual videos. I will just do everything in one take. We're chitty chatting. I don't know how this is gonna go. I'm used to the comfort of being able to edit out me like zhuzhing my bangs and laughing and occasionally breaking down and weeping. So we're gonna see how it goes with just one take. I did print out some of your questions to answer, as I said that I would. I just got back from this Korean dessert place where I had one of those massive shave ices. You know what I'm talking about? It's very good, and now I'm at home in my jammies, so woo! Beth asks, my husband asked what your favorite death dish is, like traditionally brought to the families of the deceased or set out at funerals. I actually do have an answer for this. At the very first death salon we did, which is our public events series, one of the foods, we had like a whole event where Sarah Chavez, who runs the Order of the Good Death, had funeral food, and one of the things she made was funeral potatoes. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's basically a thick, cheesy potato casserole that is popular among Mormons. So they're Mormon funeral potatoes, which they're delicious. They're just like cheese potatoes. I mean, you can't actually go wrong with them. And apparently, I just looked this up, at the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City, one of their like food pins was a funeral potato pin, which if someone could get a hold of like a vintage funeral potato pin, that would be a very excellent gift. Another question Beth had is, she's actually a little freaked out with death still, which is fine, Beth, you're on your journey. And she wants to ask, without leaving my career and joining the death industry, what would be good ways to wade in, so to speak? So this is a good question, I think, with any advocacy right now. Like, I know this is a very fraught time for a lot of people. And I think that I was reading this thing today about advocacy, and it was a representative, I think, from Chicago. And he was saying, you just have to pick like one or two things that really matter to you and that really move you, and go in that direction. Like, you can't, everything is so overwhelming, you can't do everything. And that's kind of like the funeral industry too. You can't do everything. You have to figure out what it is about the funeral industry or what it is about death advocacy that really moves you and really makes you want to take action. So is it, do you really care about mourning customs? Do you really care about people who have lost children or babies? Do you really care about green burial traditions? And then really plow ahead with the thing that you really care about and start a website. Or if you care about green burial, go to different green burial grounds or go to conservation burial grounds and talk to the people who run them and figure out how you can translate that information to a larger audience. Or if you just care about beautiful death imagery, like cemetery imagery, start an Instagram specifically for that. Just pick something that you're really passionate about and start to develop your community and your awareness specifically around that and see where it takes you. Aaron asks, an idea for a patron Ask a Mortician, maybe it could be webcast live so you could get questions on the spot and archived for those of us unable to make it. That is a really good idea. I've been thinking about that. I have no idea how to do that. I know that there are like live Q&A systems on YouTube now, and there's another one, what's that? YouNow is another one. I think that's a really good idea. My favorite part of the talks that I give always is the Q&A. It usually goes on for like 45 minutes or an hour after my original talk because people just have a bunch of questions, and I really never get tired of someone being like, why can't I have a Viking funeral? And I'm like, well, the body would not burn fast enough. So I love doing that. So let's put in the comments on the Patreon page, ways that we could do a live Q&A. I think that would be really fun. Susan asks, when you visited Australia, did you find many death positive groups or people? If so, who? Yeah, I had a really fantastic lunch with Carrie Noonan, who runs the Groundswell Project in Australia. If you don't know them, they're a great person to look up. She's a great person to look up. And I think they do something called Dying to Know Day, which seemed super interesting to me. One of my favorite people is Pia Interlandi, who does all sorts of awesome, she lives in Melbourne and does all sorts of awesome death art, including these beautiful shrouds and pieces that the dead can wear, and she also does death masks. I think I'm gonna do an episode on death masks because I got my death mask made by her, and it was quite a harrowing experience, and I have a whole story to tell about that, so I think that's coming. A. Gannon asks, I haven't worked my way through all your videos yet. Chop chop. So you may have answered this, but I'm curious to know what part of the preservation or body preparation process took you the longest to get comfortable with. I would say that the thing that I'm still not super comfortable with is I don't like mouths, the inside of mouths, the stuff that, because if you think about it, like, especially people who are much older or who have terminal illnesses and they've been dying for a long time before they actually die, hygiene becomes not the most important thing. So gunk builds up in their mouth, and then, you know, they may sit there for a while in refrigeration before we even remove them to begin preparing their body. We don't preserve the body, obviously, at my funeral home because we don't use embalming, but we do clean them up. And just getting there, getting in the teeth and getting in the gunk in the mouth specifically. Like, noses don't really bother me, ears don't really bother me. Stuff like lurking in the chasm of the mouth. I don't like it. I still don't like it. And then lastly, Jennifer had a question about mausoleums, and I was gonna answer it, but I think I'm gonna pull it up to the big leagues. I think I'm gonna maybe make a video about it. It was basically about, I did a video, if you haven't seen it, a couple years ago about exploding caskets in mausoleums. It's a video that I still get a lot of comments on, but it was more, this one's more general about mausoleums and how they don't smell and how ventilation works and why they just don't smell like houses of decay, basically. And I think there's a lot to that and a lot of things that people don't know when they put mom or dad in a mausoleum. That would be really interesting to do like a full Ask a Mortician on. So I think, spoiler, I think that's coming. You heard it here first on this patron Q&A. So that's it. I actually made it before the camera died. Not died. Rest in peace, camera. Before the clips. I can only do them in like 10-minute clips or so. Well, my SD card was full after I made that whole speech about how I had gotten it in just enough time and I hadn't gone over the clip length. The whole thing was full and I had to get a new SD card. So, this is not a big deal. I'll make a very small edit and put it up on the internet for you guys. Thank you so much. That was actually very painless for me. Not that what I do for you has to be painless for me, but it was not bad at all and something that I'm excited to do again. I hope that you enjoyed it. Be honest if you don't really like it or it's not something you really want to watch all the way through. That's fine. We'll do something else. We'll come up with different awards for you. Different rewards. Everyone is gonna get a funeral potato pin. That's the new reward for pledging. I can't promise that. I have no access to those, but you know what I mean. We'll figure out something. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Bye.